welcome everybody to this special session this evening, where I'm sharing about one of my favorite subjects, human design. Human design completely changed my life, as well as the other things things that have come up. So it's been an exciting time. And actually, when I read something about myself, well, a lot of things with human design, I could relax and I could really be me, because I realized that I was unique, and how I was going to be reflected differently to other people. So I'm so excited to share this with you. I've put together a few slides on the presentation so I can give you a bit of an introduction about what it means. It's a very, very complex subject, which is why I love it so much as well, because you literally just couldn't make it up. It is a mix of a few different specialities. So it's, for example, got a mix of Kabbalah, the I Ching, astrology. There is many different combinations that have come into this. And I Ching is quite exciting, because I know a lot of us understand this about I Ching through the Healy. We've been learning a little bit about that, and the hexagram. So we'll be talking a little bit about that today, but I don't want to overwhelm everyone because there is so much information. I will give you just an introduction today, and obviously we can then do a second session if we want to learn a little bit more in the future. I also have, there's also Sam Youngs here on the call. She also loves human design. I just wanted to just introduce you just briefly. If you want to say hi, Sam, if you're here. You might not be there right now. Maybe you're still on the way home, but that's fine. You can come on later. She's going to pop on and also give some insights in human design as well. So I'm going to start by sharing the screen where I've created this presentation. So to give an overview, and yeah, and then we can then I will go through a few charts. Like I had like loads of people send me their details, as you can imagine. So I've pulled a few different ones out. I haven't been able to do them all, unfortunately, but you will be able to get an idea of what your chart's all about as well. I'm just going to let a few other people in, and I'll share my screen. Like I said, if you've got questions, please ask or just put them in the chat. That's absolutely fine. More questions, the better. Okay. Hi, Sam. I see you now. I was hoping that you might want to just unmute yourself and just give like a little introduction about your just how you've learned about human design, just briefly.
Okay.
What you know about it.
Wow. Yeah, I've just scratched the surface. Really, it's such a huge area. So yeah, I first heard about it last year, really, in the last couple of years, and didn't know my birth time, so that's sort of been an exploration to try and nail that down. And I just find it absolutely fascinating, because it's the combination of the chakras, of astrology, the I Ching, all the planetary stuff. It just blows my mind, and it's just so insightful and has helped me understand myself a lot, and actually opened up a lot of that. The gifts we're all born with, and actually be able to work with it on a lot deeper level, really.
Yeah, it is so exciting, isn't it? I think what I really love about this is that it's like, even now, like when I think about just how Rataru, who actually he founded this, and he didn't just find it, it got channeled. It was a transmission that went through him, and he was writing for 8 days. The amount of information is just like, I mean, there's so many levels to it, and I'm going to be able to show everyone here today a little bit about how many layers there are to this. There's so many ways to see different, like almost like slices of a cake, like the slices of who you are and what you do and why you are the way you are. And the whole idea of human design is to help you to make the right choices based on what it is that you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to go in your life, or wherever is in alignment. We're all supposed to respond differently to life. And so we're all actually told from a young age that we're all the same. We all have to learn the same way. We all have to do things the same way. In a way, we all have to become manifestors, actually. And actually, we're not all manifestors. We're all different. So this is going to be exciting to see. Yeah, really share a little bit more about for who you are and what your design is and why your design is so unique. So I've thrown together a little presentation, as always, because I love to be visual. I'm just letting more people in. All right, present. So, an introduction to human design. So we're all unique. This is what I was just talking about. So what Ra-Uru-Hu was channeled and was given, was that had a big transmission with a lot of information on what he wrote, was almost like a manual for life. I love it because it's very technical and it's almost like a map to life. So when you know how you're supposed to respond to certain things, it gives you an idea of to kind of how to move through life. And for everyone, it's different. So this manual reveals how your inner guidance system operates and provides you with practical techniques for making decisions that can greatly enhance your experience of life. Okay, don't we all just need a little bit more of that in our lives? A lot of us, and most people I meet, are either not sure where they're supposed to go with their lives, or feeling like they're like a bit lost, or can't find their direction in life, or don't know their self-worth, or feeling frustrated, feeling bitter, having a lot of emotions coming up, maybe emotions taking charge of their lives. And all of this can be understood through human design. Okay, and that's what I love about it. Now you can go and find your own chart here at this website. I recommend it's Jovian Archive. This is the official human design website. And you can go and do your chart for free. Okay, I've done a few charts today, people that have sent me their birthdays, and I will go through some of those charts, but you can go and do your own chart. And feel free to do it now. You can also get an app on your phone. I believe it's free for Android users. I don't know about iPhone, but it's called just Human Design app. And you can then get an app on your phone, which then gives you a really great insight to understand your own human design chart. Very simple and basic. If you've got the book, there's pages and pages and pages on a channel, which you're going to learn about what that is in a minute. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about the founder, Ra-Uru-Hu. So, oh, sorry. There's supposed to be a photograph of him there. I don't know where he's gone, but anyway, he must have not wanted to be there today. He's an amazing person, by the way. If you want, he's not here with us anymore. He did pass over in 2011. However, go and listen to him, because he's like, his voice is almost like alien. He reminds me of an alien. So what happened to him was, let me give you a little bit of a brief overview of him and his story. He actually is a businessman, and he was a businessman, and he was in a very corporate way, very typical American. They're very like in the like big office blocks, not really caring about spirituality or anything like that. And he decided to go on a trip through Europe, and he found himself in Ibiza out of all places. I know you think Ibiza, the party island. Well, Ibiza is actually a very spiritual island for those that know it. And there's a lot of energetics happening on that island. Like, I've been there many, many times. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Well, this was the place where he had his transmission. He actually had this huge experience where he got channeled all this information, and he wrote for 8 days. So January 1987, he had an unusual mystical experience, followed by an encounter with a voice, an intelligence far superior to anything he ever had experienced. This encounter lasted for 8 days and nights, during which he received a transmission of information, which is known today as the Human Design System. So apparently, when he received this transmission afterwards, he actually didn't want to have it. He got very depressed, and he actually just ignored it for quite some time until he realized one day that he had to do something with this, which was the Human Design System, and share this knowledge. His voice actually changed as well. So when you hear him and how he sounds, it's almost like he is somebody else. And also they gave him this name, the voice that he encountered, they gave him the name of Ra-Uru-Hu. So his story is really magnificent. And I love that it happened in Ibiza. So this is a little bit about the science, okay? So I know a lot of us here, we love frequency. So science is a massive part of this, actually. And a lot of us don't understand the science of human design, but I put a little bit of a slide here so you can understand it. So neutrinos. I don't know if you've ever heard of neutrinos before, but over 100 trillion neutrinos pass through your body every second, okay? A fundamental aspect of human design is based on these neutrinos. They are unusual particles that carry an infinitesimal amount of mass, about 3 trillion neutrinos, and the material information they carry pass through every square inch of the planet per second. Our sun produces 70% of all neutrinos that travel through our solar system, with the remaining 30% emitted by other stars in our galaxy and a small amount from the planet Jupiter. Okay, so these neutrinos is like passing information through our bodies and through everything. And this is carrying the information in and out. And actually, when you learn about human design, you understand that actually we're filtering these neutrinos through our human design system. So some of us will filter these neutrinos in a different way to another person, how another person will filter them. Some people will filter them unconsciously through their unconscious design, and some will filter them through their conscious design. So there is a whole level of science behind this. Just muting everybody. Okay. Next page. So let's have a look about the human design. So you may have seen these charts before. It's called a rave mandala. I also love the name that it's called a rave mandala. Okay, I think that's quite funny. Also, especially when he had the transmission from Ibiza. So there's the rave mandala on Ibiza. I mean, you couldn't make that up. I love the humorous aspect of this. So this is what it combines, all right? It combines I Ching and the hexagram. So you can see there on the outside of the circle, you've got all the different hexagrams, which you will be a little bit aware of from having your Heelys. We've then got the Western zodiac, which is this line here. So you will know about that. Taurus, Aries, all the horoscopes, all the astrology signs. Then we have got the Sephirot of the Kabbalah. So we've got the Kabbalah system, all the channels that you may be aware of, and you may have seen that as well. Hexagram, these are all the names of the channels. Like I said, that goes with the I Ching. And then chakras, okay? But this time we have 9 chakras. So what Ra-Uru-Hu found out was that we no longer have 7 chakras anymore. We now have 9, and this has evolved over time. And it's very important that we understand that there are more than 7 chakras. So that's quite interesting to delve into. Okay, so let's have a look at these, what this actually means when you look at your chart, because a lot of people that see their chart, they go, what does it mean? Why are some colors? Why are some white? And so just to give you an overview so you get an idea is, definition is on the left, okay, with all of the colors. How do you get a defined chart? Then the channels have to meet each defined center. So each of these chakras is a center. each center and each chakra is connected by a channel. As you can see, let's look at this one here, okay? This channel has 2 gates, number 35 and number 36. Now, you may only have 36, but you don't have 35. That means that that gate will not be complete, which then can mean that it may not be defined for the center to turn color. Now, this is just an idea. I'm going to be going more into this in a little while, but you can see here, this is defined. What does that mean? It means there is more definition. There is more boundaries. It means that you understand the feeling of having it and not having it. Okay. On the right is openness. You can see here that there are no channels. There are no channels at all that are on there. And this is completely open, openness. There is no gates, so there is no ways to define anything. It means that you are very open to conditioning. So anyone that has a lot of open channels or open centers means that they can be easily conditioned from a young age, and they will not understand the definition or the boundaries of what it feels to have a defined center or not. There are pros and cons for both, okay? Having an open center can mean that you can be completely open to everything, which means you can flow a lot of energy through you, and this can be extremely useful for creation and seeing things and being things that you could never ever imagine yourself or to define yourself. You can also see it like definition is almost like you're defined to be a certain way, and you're not as open to be as flexible with the energy that comes through that center. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that as we go through it. This gives you a bit of an overview of what that means. So as you can see here, definition is fixed and reliable. So a lot of the time when something is defined, it's something that is constant. You know, you may act a certain way on a regular way, and you can start to see it in certain people that have got a lot of defined channels and defined centers, that they're quite centered. They know where they're going. They have a specific way they do things, and they're very happy with that. Then you have someone that maybe is a bit more open, and they may not have so much of an idea, but they'll maybe have more creativity, or they may not have as much creativity. It may have been conditioned not to have creativity. So they've been more conditioned, but they're more receptive. Okay. So you will start to see the idea of understanding where you've got an open center and where you've got a more defined center. And you'll start to understand that a little bit more as you look at your own charts. Okay, so looking at the charts here, now it's not going to show me the picture, is it? Come on. Wow. Okay, so what this slide here said is the difference between personality versus design. Okay, let's just see if we can. Yes, okay. So design, if you can have a look at this chart here, you see all the red. The red channels were actually calculated at 88% of the sun, or approximately 89 days before the moment of birth. This is the nature of unconscious, and it's the biogenetic inheritance. So if you've got any red channels, this is your design, but it's actually unconscious. And a lot of us don't even know or understand that side of ourselves, okay? Because it's actually a design, our design from before we've actually been, the moment we're born, it's before we're born. And the moment we're born is where we get the personality. They're the black lines. Now, I don't have the chart right now because it's not showing me on this. It's being a bit annoying, but you will see in a moment that when you see the black channels, the personality, let me just stop sharing for a second and I can just have a look for that quickly. Shows it when I'm not sharing. All right. My Canva wants to play up today. Personality. All right, so the personality you can see here, all the black channels. This is calculated at the moment of birth. It's the conscious access, and it's who you think that you are. Whereas the design is actually your unconscious side and actually is who you are. Okay, so it's almost like unlocking and understanding your design versus your personality. Both is as important as each other. Okay, let's look at the 9 centers. So we've got at the top, the head center. This is one of the pressure centers. There are 2 pressure centers in your centers, in your 9 centers. The first one is the root, and the second one is the head. All right. The head pressure center, this is all around inspiration. Okay. The other pressure center, the root, is a motor center and an adrenaline or stress center. Okay. We will explain a little bit more about what it means to have this defined or not defined in a little while. Okay, at the moment you see them all defined. We've then got the Anja center, which is our third eye. This is all around the area of awareness center and conceptualization. We've then got the throat, which is all about manifestation, speaking and doing. Okay, if you've got this defined, usually you become a manifesting generator or a manifester. Okay, you can also be a projector with this center as well. The middle, the G center, very, very important. This is one of the most important centers of the human design system. It's all around self, love, and direction. Okay, some of us have this defined, some of us don't have it defined. Actually, I find that a lot of people don't have it defined. The more it's interesting, the patterns of people that you see around you as you go through life, and you see how many people around you have got this undefined or how many people have it defined. And you start to use your intuition when you start to feel someone is a certain way. And you can go, oh, I wonder if they've got a defined G center. I wonder if they've got an open G center. Often you will figure this out when you start to understand what it's like to have an open and what it's like to have a defined. And I will share that with you shortly. Then we've got the heart, okay? The heart center. This is a motor center as well. There are only a few motor centers, and it's very important that you have these motor centers because when you see the different types in a moment, that's important to know what they are. So the heart center is a motor center, and it's all around ego and willpower. Okay, we've then got the solar plexus for motor and awareness center and the emotional wave. Okay, the solar plexus is very interesting because when we have this defined or undefined, it means that if it's defined, your authority is emotion. Okay, a lot of people here or around me are very emotional, and the emotion takes charge of everything. Okay, and that can be quite disorientating depending on how you live your life. Okay, and how you should actually use this emotional authority in the best possible way for you to live your life in a better way, that the emotions are not controlling your life and making kind of guiding you to make decisions that maybe are not right for you in the moment, because the emotional wave, and we all know the emotional wave, those that have an authority in emotion. Then we've got the spleen. Okay, so this is the awareness center, the immune system, and the intuition. And then we've got the sacral. Okay, another motor center. And the sacral is also very important. This is the center of energy. Okay, and those that are generators will know this center. Okay, that was just a brief introduction to the 9 centers. So let's just look at some not self themes. Now, what does not self themes mean? When we are not living in the way that we should with our design. So if our design is telling us to live in a certain way and we're not doing that, and we don't listen to what our design is saying, then we can go into our not self theme. Okay, so for example, with an open center, if you don't know how you need to be, or where, if you don't have any definition with your head, it could mean that you're thinking about things that don't matter. If you have an open Anja center, it could mean, if you're not living in your design, that you're pretending to be certain, okay, even though you're not. Then we've got the throat. If you've got an open throat, this could be a lot about attracting attention. So I don't know if you know anyone that's super loud, always wants the attention. That can be an understanding of having an open throat center and not living in alignment, or not being clear with your design. So you're very loud because you want attention, okay? You then have the G center. So if you have an open G center and you're not living in your theme, and you're not following your design, then you could be completely fixated on finding love and direction. Okay, and I mean fixated, that literally that's all you ever care about, because you're not in alignment and you're not living your design. So you're almost off balance. Okay, and that's what these are just some of the symptoms you get when you're not living your theme. Okay, then you've got the heart. Do I have to prove something? So a lot of those people who are looking for the proof in the pudding, or they're constantly looking for some validation from the outside, often that's the open center of the heart and not living the theme of the heart. Okay, we all have this at some point if you have open centers. Then you've got the spleen. Usually that's all about holding on to something that isn't good for you. All right, so if you've got an open spleen center, if you're not living in your design, that can be usually, you know, maybe perhaps being addicted to something, or often it's about being ill often as well, when your immune system is very low. Then you have also got the sacral chakra. So for example, if this is open and you're not living your theme, your design, then this could be a not knowing when enough is enough. So it's like either you take too much and you keep going, or you don't have enough at all and you're just too less. All right, it's always extremes. Then you've got solar plexus, avoiding confrontation and truth if it's open. Okay, so often a lot of people don't want to have this confrontation, they'll just avoid it. All right, and then you've got the root. So having an open root and not living your theme in the best way for you can be always in a hurry to be free of the pressure. So like I said, the root and the head are pressure centers. And often people who have an undefined center and they're not living their true design, they're not in alignment, it could be that they're constantly running around, rushing and not actually stopping for a second, feeling this pressure all the time. But actually, even when they complete whatever they're doing, they still feel the pressure. That pressure never disappears. So the moment that you are more in alignment with when you're living your design, all of these symptoms will disappear for those people that have open centers. Okay, and I'm going to do some examples because that always will help a little bit in a little while. So the 9 centers, we've done those already. Done those already as well. All right, the channels. All right, so here's the channels. This is information. So like I said, we've got a channel, and you can see here, red is the design. Remember, that's the unconscious, and personality is the conscious. All right, so you can see here that number 25 and 51 is connected. When 2 gates are connecting, that means that the centers are going to be defined. Okay. For example, let's look at this, the solar plexus. Okay, this one here. you can see that the only channel there is number 49. That's called a hanging gate, okay? So the hanging gate means that there is no connection on the other side, all right? So it means that number 19 is missing. If 19 was there, then that would mean that the solar plexus and the root will be defined. It means it would be colored in, okay? But because it's not, it means it's undefined. It still means something that the gate's there, but it doesn't mean that that it's fully in working order, okay? So it's not fully defined. It's not flowing as it could be if you could connect that. Something that's really, really interesting that I've learned through learning about human design is that often we will attract someone in our lives that will complete our channels. So me and my partner actually complete each other's charts completely. So when we put our charts on top of each other, the missing gates, the missing channels are actually connected, and it defines the whole chart. And that's really interesting. And I actually got someone who sent me their design, and they also sent me their partner's design, and I've actually got them here connected. So you'll be able to see an exact example of that. And that's so exciting when you start to see how two could be overlapping each other. Okay. So you'll see there in a minute how we're going to talk more about the channels. So just to give you a bit of understanding that every single channel, so for example, channel number 26, they have 6 lines of the hexagram. Like, this is how complex this is, okay? So not only is each channel meaning a specific thing, but there are 6 lines of different meaning within that channel. So let's just go back a minute just to give you a bit more understanding. Is, can you see here, you've got number 61 at the top, okay? 61.1. That means it's channel 61 with number 1 of the hexagram, okay? Line 1. 62 channel, line 1. All the numbers on the right hand side will only go up to 6 because there's only 6 lines. So you can see here 20.6, 25.3, 1.1. So it's important to understand the different lines within each channel. We're not going to go too deep into that today, although it is massively amazing when you start to go deeper with that. So as you know, a little bit about the planetary is that every planet has a different meaning, okay? So you'll start to understand it as you start to delve into human design a bit more about what the planets mean. And that's all about how the channels are understood through this process, okay? And that's something for you to look at on another level, okay, on another day. Otherwise I'll never get through our charts today. So let's just look at the different types, okay? We've got generators, all right? So there's 4 types in total. Generators are literally 70% of the population. I'm a generator, a very proud generator, and I'm sure there's lots of generators here. Probably most of the charts that I got sent to me were generator charts, of course, as always. Now, generators, how do we know it's a generator? Now, if you're a generator, it means the sacral is defined, this one here, okay? So when the sacral is defined, it means that you're a generator, okay? And I'm going to talk about what that means in a second. And when it's connected to the throat, when you have a full definition, it means that you are a manifesting generator. There is a slight difference, but you're still generator, okay? And the difference is that you have a little bit more perspective on manifesting than a generator does when it's open. Now, there is a strategy for every type, okay? Now, the strategy for a generator is to live life by responding to life. What that means is, it means by doing nothing. How many of those out there, of you out there, are constantly doing and going out there and doing as many things as possible and never ever finding satisfaction? That is a typical generator. Generators can also be seen as slaves. Generators love to do. They've got so much energy. Generators have the sacral center. This is an energy center, and that literally drives them. They don't know when to stop. However, if they just start doing anything and they're just going out there doing the whole life and doing 10 million different things, they are never going to find satisfaction. So they're not self-themed. When they're not living their design, they get frustrated. Okay. When they are living their design, they feel very satisfied. Okay. Their aura is very open and enveloping. You always know when you meet a generator. They're very open and friendly and want to be a friend and just want to chat and just love to talk, love to socialize, lots of energy, really lots of positivity, always just going for it, always want to do something, always very motivated. This is the typical generator energy, okay? And their strategy is to respond. What a generator's design is to wait and respond, which means don't go looking for what you're supposed to do. You wait for it to come to you. Now, for a generator, that can be hell, because generators don't want to wait. They want to go and do something. So an idea of a generator is to actually trust. It's all about trust. That if you decided not to go to work tomorrow and not get paid, that the moment you've chosen that for you and you trust that that's not your path and you know there's something better around the corner, that the next day an opportunity will appear. And it always happens when you just start trusting in life. The opportunities appear. And I don't know if any of you've realized that, who are generators, but that's something that I've been exploring for quite a number of years now. And I have to say, I'm very on the point of satisfaction with my life. And it's all about understanding your design as a generator to feel and also know what's right for you and what isn't right for you. So the idea of a generator is to listen to your sacral. So this is the sacral chakra, okay? The sacral center. So it's all about listening to the or the And we all know that as generators. It's about listening to that and going, okay, does that feel good or does that not feel good? Okay, it's about getting out of our heads. The mind is not a good decision maker. It's great for analyzing, but it's not good for decisions. So it's all about really listening to your sacral. Is it the or the And if you have an emotional authority, so if this center here, the one I'm touching, the solar plexus, if you've got that defined, it means your emotions rule everything. That's also me. My emotions rule everything. So they take control. And actually, it's all about just waiting, letting the emotional wave flow. Don't respond in an emotional wave. Always sleep on it. Okay. And that's how a generator rolls. Okay. And the generators are here to respond to what's right for them, listening to their sacral and generating energy and doing the things that make them happy. Okay. When a generator is doing and living their design correctly and not trying to be a manifester or anything else, that's when all the other designs can live their design. The generators are actually the ones that need to be generating their energy in the right possible way for the other designs to actually move forward with their design. Let's look at the other designs. We've got the projector. What is a projector? Projectors are amazing beings in their own way. The difference is they don't have the sacral defined. That means that they are not an energy type. What does that mean? It means that they do not create their own energy. A projector actually needs the generator's energy. They actually are around about absorbing the energy of the generators or the other energy types to be able to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, they're only 20% of the population, although I am surrounded by projectors. Projectors are actually here not to work. They're never really ever supposed to work. They're here to guide and to teach. And also they're here to really make the way for the future. Actually, at the moment, it is their time right now. And so when they're not living their design, they become bitter. And when they're living their design in the right possible way, then they'll feel success. Okay, their aura is focused and absorbing, because obviously they're a non-energy type, so they need the energy of others. Often you will have a projector very close to generators. They're often very close by. Okay, you often get relationships with a projector and a generator together as well. So their strategy is to wait for an invitation. So the generator is to wait to respond to their sacral, a yes or a no. The projector, however, is to wait for the invitation. So they actually have to get the information from the outside for them to come and ask them whether they would like to do something or not. And then they choose whether they go and do it or not. And that's very important. Okay, it's important if they choose, if they say yes or no to the invitation. If they say yes to something which is not correct for their design, and they choose to do something which is not in alignment for them, then that can be very detrimental to them. If they just say no to something that is actually something they should be doing, or they're not listening to that part of them, then they're definitely not, it's going to be detrimental. They're going to be on the wrong path. So it's all about understanding your design, knowing which way you're supposed to go, and realizing the signs, okay, whether you should say yes to something or no to something. Okay, so that's projectors. I will go deeper. There's so much information about these. Projectors also love one-on-one. They prefer one-on-ones than groups. Then we've got manifestors. Manifestors are a funny bunch, because they're actually closed. They're very closed types. They're also repelling energy. So they're resisting energy. Okay. You always know the manifestors. It's interesting because Ra Uru Hu was a manifestor, and he has these amazing podcasts. You have to listen to them. They're so good. I will post them after the session, but you can actually go and listen to him talking. And he's so harsh. Like his language is hilarious. Like he really talks like very honestly and truthfully. But how he talks is that how like generators are so happy and friendly, and the manifestors are always like, oh God, there's a generator. They just don't want to be near generators, or they find generators too happy and too much. Manifestors are more lone wolf. They love to be kept to themselves, and this is their type. So when they're not living their theme, they feel anger. When they're living their life and their human design in the best way for them, then they will feel peace. Okay, their strategy is to inform others. All right, so when you're a manifestor, what makes you a manifestor is when you've got your throat center defined. So this is always defined for manifestors, the throat. Okay, but it has to be connected to a motor center. So these are the 4 motor centers, as I spoke to you about before. We've got the spleen, the solar plexus, the heart, and the root. So for a manifestor, you need to have all of, either this connected to one of the other motor centers. Okay. Then finally, we've got the reflector. And actually, I have someone who sent me their date of birth, and they're a reflector, which is very rare to find. I have one other reflector that I've met in my life, and I knew they were a reflector. I just had to get their chart. I was like, what human design are you? I don't really know what to feel, because as I'm a generator, I feel everything. So when you're around a reflector, it's quite hard to understand the energy type, because there is no energy. They're not a non-energy type. So as you can see here, reflectors have no definition at all. They have channels, but they don't have any of them defined. 1% of the population, okay? If they're not living their life theme, then they feel disappointment. When they are living their life theme, then they are surprised. They're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And their aura is very resistant, but also sampling. So the difference between manifestors and reflectors around that, about the resistance, is reflectors will sample everybody else's energy, and they will decide whether or not it's right for them, whether a manifestor won't at all. They're not interested in sampling anyone's energy. They're just resistant. Okay, so you'll start to understand that energy as you understand your design. Their strategy is to wait for a lunar cycle. So when they've got to make a decision, or they're not sure where they need to go and which direction to take, the best thing to do is to wait for a whole lunar cycle. That's very interesting. I love the reflector types, because they're actually here to project everyone else's energy and to understand everyone else's energy. And they're usually the ones that know when there's something that isn't correct, or it's not something that isn't going very well in an environment. What they need to do, reflectors is to know that the environment is where they live and where they are is very, very important for them. If they don't have a strong foundation in their environment, or if they don't feel safe, then they're not going to live their human design in the best possible way. Okay, so that's just a little overview of each one. Then on top of that, and I'm not going to go into this today, but there's the 12 profiles. That's based on the hexagrams. And this was one of the main reasons why I love human design, actually, because I'm a 5-1, and Rataruhu was also a 5-1, and he once did a YouTube video, which I can't find anymore. I listened to it so many times, and I literally just couldn't believe it. It was like he just talking about me. I was like, how does he know that? Because there's certain things that you just can't ever tell anybody about your design, and no one will ever understand. So to actually see and hear that from someone, I just couldn't believe it. And from that moment, I was like, I need to understand this human design. So the profiles are also really good. And as you look at your designs, you can look this up online and start to learn a little bit more about these. Okay, so this is about the manifestor. Actually, that's again about how the manifestor is connected to one of the motor centers. Okay, let's just move on, because I'm going to look at some designs now. Okay, Sam, do you want to add anything before I start going into designs? Like, I don't know if I've missed anything from your perspective.
No, I think you've really covered that. Just from things that I was told along the way of me getting my charts read, etc., was like the defined centers are like our power centers, and the open ones, as you said, are like conditioning and blocks, but it's where we can really discover our wisdom, is how it was explained to me. It's our greatest area for growth of wisdom. Yeah, that was the only thing really.
Okay, great. Thank you for the insight. Perfect. I always love to have as many insights as possible, because I am constantly learning about this subject, and I love to have other human design lovers' insights as well. So I was just looking at some of the chats there. I saw that Elizabeth has written, "Greetings, everyone. I've been a gem carver for over 40 years and found that the health companies I am in has given me so much more satisfaction in helping people." Lovely. And Andreina, I've downloaded the app and I'm projector. Yeah, I have done your chart as well, Andreina. I think it's on here somewhere. I'm going to go briefly through some of these, but this was really interesting because Kalia and Martin are together in a relationship, and she sent me their charts. And it just shows you what's when you put them on top of each other, which is so exciting because, like I said before, me and my boyfriend's charts complete each other's. So let's just have a look. So Kalia on the left, she's a projector, all right? She's got a splenic authority. So you can see here, the only defined channels is the spleen and the heart, okay? Red is unconscious, which is design. Red is conscious, okay? So you can go deeply into this and understand what the channels mean, okay? I have a book. I also have actually got a PDF document with all of the channel information, which I'm happy to share with everybody at a later time when I'll pop it onto, I'll put the PDF or maybe I'll send it by email. But yeah, I'll find a way to get that to you and to understand what the channels actually mean, so you can understand what, you know, what is that, you know, why is 26 and 44? What's the difference? Okay, now you can see here the head, the third eye, the throat, the G center, the sacral, the root, and the emotional authority are completely undefined. Okay, so what does it mean? When the head is undefined, it means that there is the head center is like a source of inspiration. All right, that's what it's all about. It's all about mental pressure or also anxiety. Okay, so this is one of the 2 pressure centers, like I said before. The undefined head center always gets their inspiration from the outside or from other people. The inspiration vanishes when they're alone. Okay, so if you've got an open head center, you're often very, very inspired when you're around people. When you're at home, you might feel like it goes a bit blank. Okay. Also, this center is not designed to really do anything apart from have ideas. So all thoughts, inspirations, and ideas are coming from it, and it's always for the benefit of other people. Okay, it's not for the benefit of ourselves. So people with an undefined head should learn to focus only on the questions which are relevant to them. Okay, so what a really good question to ask yourself if you've got an open head, which is, does this really concern me? So Kalia, when you're watching this, if you're here or if you're watching the replay, you'll see that both you and Martin both have undefined head, which means that you both need to be asking yourself the question is if it's relevant for you or not, whatever is coming up for you in your life, because often we end up getting involved in things that aren't relevant for us. Okay, great. Now, if you've got the app, you can also tap into the app and it will tell you briefly what the channel means. But for me, it's never enough because, I mean, I've got a book and there is like sometimes like 2 pages on one channel, and that's not even talking about the lines. So if you do have the app and you do click on it and it do shows you the activated gates, don't take it too seriously, because there is a lot more to it than what the few words it tells you. All right. Now, if you have got an undefined Angel center, as you can see here, there's a few gates. This one is completely open. Do you see the difference? There is no gates at all. That's open, that's undefined. All right, that's the difference. You've got a few gates, but not all of them. All right, they're not defined. All right, to have an open Angel center or an undefined Angel center, it's the center of analytical thinking. It measures and it categorizes and it divides and it conquers. Okay, with people with undefined Angel center, they are under pressure to try to hold onto a mental position. Okay, however, they don't have a fixed way of thinking. In a sense, they can change the way they think and explore a subject from many different perspectives. So you may know the types of people that have defined Angel centers. They can be seen as one way of thinking, okay, rather than lots of ways of thinking. I know I often am looking at that. I'm not too judgmental. I don't always say it's definite, but for sure, there is an element of difference when you meet someone with a defined Angel center and someone with an undefined Angel center, okay? Someone with an undefined Angel center can often be very, very free thinking and can constantly be changing and brainstorming, and they'll think one thing for a second, and then the next minute they're thinking something else. So people with an undefined anger should learn that there's no need to have a fixed mental position about anything, okay? Don't need to actually have like a definite answer for something, okay? So for example, the gate of 43, this is the gate of insight, assimilating and structuring thought process based on intuition, not facts, individual expression, and it requires strength to defend it. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of understanding that you can go into in that gate. Okay, so then you've got the throat center, which is undefined as well. So you both have that undefined. So both of you have got undefined. However, if you look at the last one, when you put it on top of each other, the throat actually becomes defined because you're able to complete each other's channels. All right, which means that you can manifest together. So let's look at the undefined throat. The throat center governs communication. The energy must go through it to become reality. This center expresses the energy of the center, which it's connected to. People with undefined throats have no consistent voice. This can cause nervousness and pressure to speak. They should learn to speak from a place of calmness and not try to attract attention when silence feels right. Okay, so have you ever been in that position where you feel like you need to speak and you feel uncomfortable in the silence? Often that is when you have an undefined throat center and you feel uncomfortable in a situation, or you feel like you need to speak and you're not living your true design around that center. So that's exciting to have, to understand that. This is our manifesting center. When we can really master that and learn to even meditate rather than speaking, then we can master that center. Brilliant. All right, let's keep going. So let's look at the G center. The G center is like super interesting. I'm interested in this center because mine is completely open. Just like you've got the head center at the top, which is completely open. There's no gates. My one is completely open, no gates at all. So this center is all about life direction and also your love direction. So knowing, finding love and searching for that direction. Anyone who has got undefined G center will often be searching for love and their direction and purpose in their life forever. I don't want to scare you, but actually anyone, especially with an open G center, especially with an open one, which means no gates at all, are actually never supposed to know their direction in life. And when you realize that, you can stop and take the pressure off. There is no way to find that out for someone with an undefined G center. So it's time to stop looking and start to just live your design. So being a projector, you are looking for, you're taking the energy from the generators. All right, that's your design. Okay, and obviously if you're feeling very tired and exhausted, which a projector can feel very often, take rest. Okay, you're not supposed to be like a generator. You're not there to have constant energy supply. Take more rests. Okay, and also when it comes to the G center, understand that you're a chameleon. Okay, so what that means is that you'll find that you are able to become different types of people around certain friends. So, you might have your friend that loves to go shopping, and then you can easily flow into that flow. And then you might have your spiritual friend and you can go into that flow. Someone that's really loud or someone that's really quiet, and you kind of can reflect their energy back and you can become that person like a chameleon. and you can really fit in with all types of people, which is a blessing, but it's also difficult because sometimes it's easy to kind of lose yourself and not know who you are, which is this whole idea of never really knowing who you are and actually constantly on that search for it. And the moment that you can relax around knowing who you are, then it means that you can live your design more freely. And this is the beauty of it. Okay, so really feeling into that, having an open center in the G center and allowing whatever needs to flow through it. Someone with an open G center, they're the types of people that can, if they're around someone who's Scottish or with a certain accent, they will start to sound like them. I am one of those people massively, especially with an open center there. If I'm around someone with a certain accent, I'll be speaking like them by the end of the night for sure. So that's interesting to see. Interesting that you both of you have your hearts defined, because this is the center for willpower and ego, but it's also for around the center around self-worth. So anyone that doesn't have their heart defined will struggle to put a worth on themselves. So if you're struggling with knowing your value, it could be that you have an undefined heart center. So have a look at your chart and see if yours is defined or not. What I've noticed with people that have defined heart centers is that they often are quite good with money, and they've found a way to value themselves in a certain way where they're receiving what they should be receiving for whatever they're doing. Okay, I don't know if that's true for you both, Callie and Martin, but that is something that I've noticed as I've been doing human design charts. Then we have got the splenic authority. So there you've got, this is actually the center which governs their intuition. So you'll be very intuitive, but you're also, this is defined. Okay, so this means that both of you have it defined. Usually if you have it defined, you're often pretty healthy most of the time. If you don't have it defined, then often it means that you could have issues with your immune system. Okay, it could mean that it's not that strong, and you find it hard to stay healthy. You may find that your intuition is quite strong and it's quite defined. So it's quite consistent. You understand and you can feel your intuition on a regular basis, and it's right there, and you know when it says yes or no. So you live with this authority. Okay, you live with the intuitive authority. So it's all about listening to your intuition. Okay. The same for Martin. All right, the same thing. Both of you have got an intuitive way, but also Martin is actually, his sacral is the authority. Okay, so the first thing that's before the splenic. All right, so that's why his is called sacral, because sacral is more important for him than the splenic authority. All right, so sacral means that he has to listen to is or and know whether it's right or wrong, and whether or not to respond to something in the way, whether it's a yes or a no. The splenic authority is all about intuition. So tapping into the intuitive side of you and knowing if this something is right or wrong for you. Okay. And then we can see that you both have open solar plexus. So this is the emotional authority. Now, someone with an open emotional center, sorry, not authority, they actually struggle to, one of their struggles is that they don't feel, they don't have a defined or an idea about the emotions that they feel. So often if they're very, very empathic, so often they're around people and someone around them may be sad, they will actually feel their sadness 10 times more than the person who's actually feeling the sadness, because they don't have the gauge to know what level of sadness that they're at. So often the time, I mean, this is an amazing tool as well, because anyone with an open emotional center, this can actually mean that you are very empathic, and you can really feel if something is up, and it means that you can really tap into someone else's emotions and really help them out. However, that can be very, very hard on you because you're going to be feeling all these emotions, which actually are not even your emotions, they're someone else's emotions, and you're tapping into that. It also, it means that it'll always be extreme with the emotional center, all right, because you don't have that defined idea of what these emotions are and how strong they are in that moment. So you might find that both of you might be quite empathic, and I don't know if anyone here can also relate to that, who's got an open emotional authority. Okay. Anyone that has, it is the source of emotions, okay? And what you do is you amplify them. That's the word I was looking for. The most important thing is for anyone with an open emotional center is to understand that the emotions that they feel are not theirs, and that they should only make decisions when these emotions have passed. Okay, so making sure that you are making decisions not in the moment of when you're very, very high in emotion or very low in emotion. Finally, we've got the root center. So you can see that they're all completely open, even after putting your designs on top of each other. So having an open root center can often, it's like I said before, it's one of the pressure centers. Okay, so this means that you'll find that you're easily pressured into things, and you won't know when the pressure is finished or not. So someone with a defined root will often be pressuring someone with an undefined root center. They'll be like, come on, come on, come on. And the person with an undefined root center is going to be like, oh my God, how do I get rid of this pressure? How do I get rid of this pressure? And they will never know how to get rid of it. And they will never get rid of it if they don't realize that it's not their pressure, and they need to just not take it on and to realize this is not my pressure, because you'll never actually get rid of the feeling. All right. Because that's what you're going to be searching for all the time, is how to release it. And in the end, the release will never come. So it's all about really tapping into that and knowing that when you feel pressured, that it's not your pressure, that it's actually someone else's pressure. And having all of these undefined centers means that as growing up, you may have had a lot of conditioning and over time. And say, for example, you've got someone in your family with a defined root center, and you've grown up with someone pressuring you your whole childhood, that's going to create some kind of difference in your personality, because you've lived with someone pressuring you. So that may be something that you might have to resolve later down in your life, to go, oh, I don't need to feel that pressure. I can let go of that now. Also, like I said, like always feeling like that everyone is telling you to have energy. Well, you don't have your own energy. So take your time. As a projector, take your time. You don't need to have energy all the time. Take your rest. Generators have loads of energy. The problem with their generators is that they may end up doing something that is not their design, and they'll feel very frustrated. So if you're a generator and you're very frustrated in your work right now, have a think about whether or not that's right for you and it's your design. All right, so as you can see, they've put their charts on top of each other. One second. Take a glass of water. You can see that by adding their charts on top of each other, let's look at this chart channel here. Can you see that Martin has channel 12 and Kalia has channel 22, which means when you put them together, it defines the emotional solar plexus with the throat center, which means together you are actually able to manifest whatever it is that you're looking for in your life, which is beautiful. So if you've got a partner and you'd like to put your charts on top of each other, I do recommend it, because you can see, if it's a good fit or not. It happens very often. It's quite nice to have an open mind and an open head still, both of you, because it's nice to have that flowing of energy there. the root center is something that you're going to find that together, at least you're not going to be pressuring each other, that you're both going to have that openness in your root chakra, which is going to be a flowing of pressure, not too much. Okay, that's just an overview, a little bit about your chart. What's interesting is that you're both 2-4 hermit, opportunist. So this is the profile reading. I just realized the time as well. Wow, I can talk for a long time about this subject. Wow, I've gone over by 15 minutes, but this is just like how incredibly important, like interesting this subject is, because literally I can talk about it for days and days and days. This is my subject for sure, as well as Healy. So just to show you that these charts and seeing these charts here, there's so much to talk about and so much understanding to have. Let's just have a quick overview of some of the others. I won't go deeply into them. So Mary McClunsky, this is your chart. You can see a lot of open centers, but you've got a defined emotional authority and a defined heart. You're also a projector. Then we've got these 3 charts that came up. So you've got Sarah Impey, you're a reflector. So this is the one I wanted to show you. So Sarah's chart is very rare. It's only 1% of the whole planet. Like, you don't come across these very often at all. And that's the beauty of a reflector. You can really, reflectors are here to reflect what else is going on around them. And like I said, it's very important for Sarah to be in an environment which is safe for you, where you feel good. If you don't feel good in your environment, then you're probably not going to be living your design in the best way for you, and you won't feel safe. You're here to live by the lunar cycle. And anyone that has, I mean, if you can imagine anyone here with a reflector sign, is that they've never had any definition. So they're actually living in a whole different way to how someone with a defined center, like they've never ever had that before. So they literally live through the energy-less flow. And that's what's really very, very important. All right, sorry about that. And then we've got Lynn Barlow Poynton. So here you can see define head. So we've got a define head center, all right, and then you've got the define Anja center. You've also got the define root, the defined spleen center, and defined sacral. So you've got the generator profile. It was quite hard to find a manifestor profile, actually. Then we've got Cheryl. So she's got a defined G center. So what does that mean? It means that it's quite, you found your direction in life. You might be quite happy with your direction in life, actually. Usually it's a reliable and consistent sense of who you are. So you might feel like you've kind of found out who you are, or you've always known who you are, and you're on a good path for that. When you've got a defined G center, your identity or how you know themselves don't change, so it will never change. And it also depends on people around them, okay? They also experience love in a consistent way. So, I mean, if you start to look at some of these small like ideas and factors around whether it's defined or not defined, someone that has a consistent love or a consistent purpose in their life, and understanding that, to those that don't, and just start to feel that with different people, and then guess their charts, and then go and have a look and ask them what their charts are, and do it as a game, because that's how I do it. And often it just confirms my my intuition to understand of what actually it means to have something defined or undefined, and to know and to trust what you feel about certain people, and to understand their designs as well. And slowly, and sure enough, that you'll start to really see other people's designs and to be able to help them to understand their own. So it's quite exciting when you start to get to know them. This is Rataruhu's chart. He's a manifester. He's also a 5-1. See, 5-1 at the very top one. And actually, I put my chart in there at the end just to show you. You can see my open G center in the middle. So I will never know my direction in life. I accept that. I will never know if I'm on the right path for love or not, and I'll accept that. I'm also a chameleon. I love lots of different things. I can flow in between the energies. There's always pros and cons for having an open center or a defined center. And I'm very much an emotional authority. So often emotions will take charge, and that will often, I often have to wait a little bit because emotions can really almost block the flow of energy where I need to go. So it's about really mastering your emotions if you're an emotional authority. But you know, even if you're not emotional authority, maybe you do have an undefined emotional authority. It's about really also managing your emotions because they're not all yours. So it's about really just like doing a lot more awareness exercises to tap into some of these centers to really understand it on another level. So that is just an overview of human design. I did go over actually quite a lot, and I thought I'd be able to go through some of these charts more, but as you can see, it takes so much time to explain it. So maybe I will do a second session on this. I would love to delve deeper and help you to understand your own charts. Let me just stop sharing this for a second. So I hope you found it somewhat insightful. Sam, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to what I've been talking about. I didn't realize the time.
No. No, as you say, it's such a huge topic, and how he did that in 8 days, I've no idea. But no, I think you've covered a lot in that short space of time. But yeah, it is huge. It's huge when you go down the rabbit hole of it.
It's a rabbit hole for sure. It is a rabbit hole. And so for anyone that's interested in having a human design reading, just please send me a message. I'm happy to, you know, give you a brief overview, or if you want to book a session, just let me know. I'm not doing them for very expensive because I'm still learning about the whole topic. To be honest, I've done a course on reading my own and to help others read theirs. However, I'm open to doing some readings for people who are looking for one for a discounted amount, which is pretty good because they're quite expensive to get a reading now these days. It's like, whoa. I think I paid 120 for mine, for my reading, but I think they're even more than that. But if anyone would like a reading for a very discounted amount just to learn about their design and to help me to understand other people's designs as I go along, please reach out to me and I'll happy to discuss that with you. And yeah, do we have any questions from anyone? Sam Young, you've written here, I'm an open solar plexus. Where's mine? Sorry, Andreina. I thought I'd downloaded it, but I must not have put it in there. Sorry about that. There were so many charts, but I will go into it with you directly.
Can I just ask, Abby, you know the way when you see the channels coming, so if there's 3 lines coming from one chakra to the other, if there's one line coming from one chakra and another line coming from the other chakra, but they're not complete, is that joining what is that defined?
No, it won't. It's only defined when they're really connecting to each other like this.
Oh, if it's only straight.
If there's only, yeah, it has to be directly.
Oh, right.
Obviously, like, let me just quickly go back to the screen a minute. So for example, you can see here with mine, the 38 and the 28 are defined. They've connected. There's 2 gates, 38 and 28.
So it has to be a complete line. It can't be half one line and half the other line.
No, so you can see here that the sacral 59 is a hanging gate. So that's not complete. The same for, so you can see here 21 and 48, 21 and 45. 45 is not defined. You see
No,
the
but
gate.
if you see the bottom two, so say if you have from the solar plexus to the root chakra. So say, for instance, if one of those three lines is halfway one way and halfway the other way.
So they have to be connected. So they have to be, so you can see 49 and 19 are connected. 21 and 48 isn't, so it's not defined. 13 and 33 isn't. So we don't have 13, we only have 33. You see it's in blue, the ones that we have. 14 is, but 2 isn't, so that's not defined.
If you go to another chart, if you go to, you know, the 3 charts you did.
Yeah, okay, so that was when that's when we put 2 on top of each other.
No, but do you see the top?
Here.
Let me see if I can see it. No, do you see the black going from the root to the spleen? Down there, yeah. So the
this
other
one.
side, one half of one is that defined?
So the reason why this is defined is because this spleen is connected to the heart. Do you see that line there?
All right, okay.
That's
Yeah.
what makes it defined.
I was adding it to the root, but it's not
Yeah,
defined.
no, and that's what I mean. So if, see, for example, this here and that here, there's nothing connecting any lines together, so they're not defined. Because that's got a full line, then that makes them,
Yeah,
two. That's
okay.
the reason why that they're colored.
Yeah, okay, yeah, got
You
it.
see, like also, these two are defined. Also,
Yeah.
this is defined to here.
Yeah, I have
But
it.
when you put them on top of each other, they define more, you know, because they're 2 charts on top of each other. So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
define this, because this blue and the green are
Yeah.
actually connecting them together then.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
The emotional authority as well, which means they'll be more emotionally stable and feel more connected to each other, having those 2 channels connected. So it does take time to understand it.
Yeah.
It's so complex, but when you start to understand it on a level that where you can really read your design, then it is a beautiful science. It's a beautiful science, and I love it very much. It is really fantastic.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's very interesting.
You're welcome. So I have covered like the basics of human design, but I would love to do another session like this where we can do some more charts. So perhaps we'll do another one this month. If anyone wants to come back and learn a bit more and send me your charts, we can go through them. And if you've got questions, please feel free just to ask them. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming on and taking the time to sit here and for a whole hour and a half. We will be back soon. And yeah, thanks, Sam, for joining me on this session as well.
Thanks, Abby.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, Andrina,
Bye.
Cheryl-Ann and Lynn. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thanks for everyone joining on the Facebook group as well. Take care. Bye-bye.